everybody, I'm Vera Stewart and welcome to the VeryVera Show. You know, when the temperatures start dropping and that tea olive in the front yard is blooming, there's nothing like it. And along with that comes all of the great fall recipes, and we're going to do some of those today. We're going to start with the baked cheese grits. This is a really wonderful way to start a weekend. Has lots of cheese and butter. Your family's going to love it. And then if you're looking for something hearty that's a meal in itself, what about a chicken and bacon chowder? Just the sound of it makes me hungry. And then we'll do a pecan stuffed mushroom that might be your next tailgate surprise or just a bite-sized appetizer when you've got guests over. And then finally, let's get the kids involved. How about a popcorn ball? Perfect for this time of year. And in Vera's Corner today, as long as we're talking about snacks, let's do a sugared pecan that you can put on a salad or eat as a snack. So I'm ready to get started. Let's get in there and get those grits going. All right, so grits are just a Southern staple, and they come in all different forms and shapes and sizes. So you've got your quick grits, instant grits, just regular grits, and you've got stone ground grits. And I highly recommend that you use the stone ground for this recipe. As you can see, it's just a really hearty grits, and it just cooks up beautifully. It does take longer, but it's worth the wait. So this recipe for the baked cheese grits would be amazing with our quiche from the first cookbook. It would be a really nice complement to that if you're looking for something different. If you're having weekend company and you want a great breakfast, you can make this the day before, so it's perfect. So what we did here is I put my water in my pan, and I like to use the Dutch oven. It's easy to maneuver when I get ready to put it into my casserole dish. And I added the salt to the water. It makes it boil faster. It also helps to incorporate that salt into the grits so that you're not adding a lot of salt at the end. All right, so it has cooked now for about 40 minutes. It's just perfect. So now I'm gonna add all the yummy things. This is my fresh market butter that I'll put in. And then this is also their sharp cheddar cheese. So I certainly recommend that you use a sharp cheddar cheese. I also recommend that you grate it yourself because it really does make a difference. And also theirs has such a really great sharp cheddar cheese flavor. It's really great. So this is the best part, when you're just mixing all of these ingredients together. And like I said, I think people a lot of times, because I've been in the catering business for right at 40 years, you have to know what you can make in advance. You can't be ready for a big brunch for a bride if you cannot make some of those dishes in advance. So this is now going to be melted together, but you can make this the day before. You could actually make it 2 days before and just bake it at the last minute. So needless to say, this is, you know, piping hot. My heat is off, my induction cooktop with Wolf. The minute you turn it off, it's off, so I don't even have to remove the pan from the top of the stove. But now I'm going to add egg to this. So what you certainly have to do here is you've got to temper that egg. So I'm going to put a couple of spoonfuls of this hot mixture in my bowl. And then you see I've got a towel under the bowl. So I've got my egg cracked and mixed together. So what I'm going to do here is just quickly start stirring this in, and that keeps the egg from cooking. This is called tempering the egg. And this way, the egg is now the same temperature as the grits before you add it to the rest of the casserole. And you see the towel keeps the bowl from spinning all around your counter. So it works out great. All right, so this is ready to go. So now I can easily transfer this to the rest of the hot mixture, and you don't see cooked egg in it. All right, so I've greased my pan and I've got my oven preheated to 350. So I'm gonna put all of this into my casserole dish. I'm gonna top it with a little extra cheese and pop it in the oven. It does cook for about an hour and 15 minutes. And when we come back from the break, we will get started on the best chowder you ever ate. So do not go away. Stick with me. I'll see you back in just a minute. Welcome back, everybody. And if you're just joining me, we are celebrating fall. We got a little bit of a nip in the air. The tea olive is smelling good outside, and we're ready to make some great fall dishes. And we've already gotten started with the baked cheese grits, and they are baking away in the oven. But this is also something you can do a few days in advance and then not bake it until you're ready to use it. All right, so now we're starting on the chicken bacon chowder. And this is a meal in itself. It's got the vegetables, it has everything you need in it. And it is so hearty and also freezes beautifully. So you're gonna make a big pot of it. Even if it's only 2 of you at home, you can enjoy it all fall. So what I've done in advance is I went ahead and cut my bacon into small pieces and fried it in my Dutch oven. Just get it good and crispy, then drain it on a paper towel. But you're gonna leave all of those yummy bacon drippings in the bottom of the pan because I'm gonna add in my shallots and my celery, a little bit of red pepper and some salt. And just cook those vegetables down until they're nice and tender, and that's where I am right now with this. All right, so now we're gonna make a roux. So I've got my flour. We're gonna add that to the vegetables and the bacon drippings and get that good and coated. And that'll cook, just for a couple of seconds. So, in terms of what I said earlier about you can't wait until the last minute to make everything when you're entertaining. It is important to know what things do freeze well and what you can do in advance. And this is certainly one of those dishes. You wouldn't think that a milk-based chowder would freeze well, but this really does. And the only suggestion I would make is if the potatoes have gotten it kind of thick, when you reheat it, just add a little bit more of either the low sodium chicken broth or some extra milk. All right, so now we're ready to add the chicken broth. And the Fresh Market has their own brand of chicken broths. They have the low sodium, they have the organic, lots of different ones to choose from. And I'm just gonna slowly add this in, and this just turns into the most amazing broth. Just the sound of chicken and bacon in a chowder that has, we're gonna also put some corn in this in a few minutes, along with the potatoes. It really is a meal in itself, and I love to do this with just a salad or half a sandwich. So now I'm gonna get this stirred together, and we're gonna add in, and the other part of this recipe that I really like a lot is it uses boneless, skinless chicken thighs, and I love dark meat, but you could use chicken breast too if you would prefer. So I'm going to add those in, and I've cut those into smaller pieces just so they'll cook just right, because this is going to simmer on top of the stove for about 12 minutes. And then my red potatoes are cut into about 1 inch. That's about 1/4 of the potato when you're cutting it, but you don't want it to be too big that you can't pop it in your mouth, because again, you're eating this in a bowl with a spoon. All right, so I'm gonna put this on about a medium heat, and we're gonna let this cook for about 12 to 15 minutes or until that chicken is done through. All right, so the chicken is cooked now for 12 to 15 minutes. I've taken it out of the pot and I've shredded it with my forks, and it just easily shred apart. It does take a little bit of time to do it, not because it's hard, but because you had a good bit of chicken. But this just came together really well. I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of salt on top of this chicken. And now I'm gonna put it back into the pot. So that mixture that we cooked has really worked up good. And this is just the right size for eating, and eating in a bowl and eating with a spoon. And I really like this consistency better than just chunks of chicken. and your consistency of a dark meat thigh is a little different from a chicken breast as well. So now let's add in the milk. And this is where it gets nice and creamy. And I'll turn my pot back up just a little bit. And you know, honestly, the longer this cooks, the better it is. And this is just shoe peg corn. And you can either buy the frozen or the canned. Now this is gonna simmer. It's ready to go. And when we come back from the break, we're gonna get started on those pecan stuffed mushrooms. It'll be the perfect appetizer. Or you know what? You could have these with this soup too. So come back with me in just a few minutes. Vera's Corner is brought to you by TaxSlayer. It's no surprise that I love peanuts, but what about candied pecans? This is such a great Southern staple. It's easy to make, so let me show you the technique and some fun ways to use it. Preheat the oven to 325 degrees. Bring water to a boil over medium heat in a large saucepan. Add 1/2 cup of sugar. For a classic candied pecan, let the sugar dissolve on its own. Once the sugar is dissolved, pour in 2.5 cups of pecan halves and let them cook, stirring every few minutes. The liquid will begin to thicken. Remove from the heat when most of the liquid has cooked out and the pecans are shiny and sticky. Spread the pecans on a sheet pan lined with parchment paper and bake for 8 to 10 minutes. They should have a frosty look. Remove from the oven and let the pecans cool before using. For savory pecans, use some paprika or add in some fall spices like cinnamon, nutmeg, or pumpkin pie spice for a holiday twist. For something on the savory side, use fresh herbs like sage or rosemary. And then add them to a charcuterie board or sprinkle on a salad to add a sweet, savory, or even spicy crunch. Wrap in a cellophane bag with a ribbon for a tasty gift. Enjoy this simple treat. Start free today at TaxSlayer.com. Welcome back, everybody, and I hope you enjoyed Vera's Corner. You know, I do not need to make those candied pecans because I end up snacking on them all day long. But please try that recipe. You know, these little tips in Vera's Corner come in handy, and those are great on a salad. All right, so now we have the pecan stuffed mushrooms. This is one of the recipes in the new book, Occasions. It's one of my very favorites. Really takes me back to my old-timey catering days when we had the beautiful 2 bites that were spread out on top of silver trays. I just love it. So in advance, I went ahead and just took a paper towel, just brushed off the little bit of, you know, dirt or, you know, just some of the stuff that's on the mushroom. You want to make sure you get that off. And I recommend, you could also use like a little small brush, but you don't want to run them under water to do that because that changes the consistency of the mushroom. Then you pop the little stems out and then you chop those up because that is your filling. That's part of the filling that's going to go into this recipe. So we've got all of that ready. Now I'm going to add in my Pearson Farm pecans, and these are the Elliott halves. And just remember, they're one of our partners. They're in Fort Valley, Georgia. They're a family-owned business. They've been in business since 1885. They have so many other products, so be sure to check out their website. All right, we've also got freshly chopped parsley. So don't use the dried, just go ahead and buy some parsley and cut it up. You could even put it in your food processor if you wanted to. All right, then we've got some softened butter. We've got a little bit of garlic. That also makes, you know, all the flavors come out when you use a little bit of garlic. Thyme, which is also a nice flavor with the other ingredients, and then some kosher salt. Now I'm just gonna mix this together. And you know, this is also a great idea for a side dish. If you're cooking a steak on the grill, you want to do something different, wow your guest, put this in the middle of a portobello mushroom cap. That would be tremendous. And if you're ever having a need to have something that's a vegetarian dish, this is also really good as an entree. All right, let me put some fresh ground pepper in there. And like I said, you've got your mushroom caps all ready to go. And you could do this that morning and cook them off the night before. But I'm just going to use a spoon. And we're just going to put it inside each little cap. And one of my tips from catering is when you're doing an appetizer, you don't want it to be any bigger than 2 bites. You know, they can take a bite and have 1 bite left, but if they've got a lot that they have to work with there in their hand, that doesn't work so well. All right, so these are going to go into a 325-degree oven, and they're going to bake off. And when we come back from the break, we're going to get started on our presentation and some other tips about fall recipes and how to incorporate those into your fall. All right, so I'll see you back in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody. And you know, there's nothing like fall in terms of aromas and different ingredients and things that you can do to make your home attractive and to make your guest want to be invited back. And so hopefully today, with the recipes that we've shared, you've got a little bit of an idea about what you want to do this fall. The weather is always so pleasant, and you can, you know, do some of this outside. So let's talk about how we turned this kitchen island into quite a beautiful fall landscape. So first of all, we started with a runner from Hester and Cook. That really pops everything else we've done today, and I certainly want to invite you to go to their website because they have beautiful paper products for every occasion, and you would never even know this was paper unless you touched it. So I love the way that looks with our straw basket weave charger plate, the gold, the bamboo handled silverware that we've got there. It just really turned out great. So let's walk back through all the recipes we made today. We started with the baked cheese grits, and as you can see, they bake up really beautifully in the pan, and because of the egg, they're going to hold up. So you have so many different ways to interpret grits. You know, real runny on the plate, very fine, thicker. Something like this can be cut into squares, and I've got the cutest way to present this is to slice it into squares and stack it like a breakfast sandwich and put the bacon in the center. So you could even do that on a platter and serve it that way, but it's certainly a great way to present it if you're doing it plated. So I love that idea. All right, then we did the chicken and bacon chowder, and I've got some in my crock right here. I mean, it's just the right consistency in terms of the actual chowder itself. It's not like soup, and it's not thick like a stew. It's absolutely perfect. So again, this you can make in advance. Honestly, the longer it sits, the more the flavor of the bacon and the potatoes and the chicken and the corn really go all the way through it. So I love that. We've put it on the center of the plate and garnished with some extra of the bacon, and I highly recommend that market bacon at Fresh Market. It just fries up beautifully. So then we moved into the pecan stuffed mushrooms, and honestly, on a stackable tray like this, it just makes such a pretty presentation, and they are easy to pick up. It's a 2-bite. Again, I gave you the idea of putting that into a big portobello mushroom shell. So if you were doing an entree with the soup, that would work well. It's also great with the salad. But Pearson Farm just has the most amazing product. Their Elliott pecan halves are so flavorful. You start chopping those up to go in those pecans, and the flavor just goes crazy. And so certainly I want you to look them up. They've been in business since 1885. alive. It's a 5th generation family business, and they have a website where you can order directly from them. All right, then we did the popcorn balls. So this recipe, the kids are gonna love it. You put the marshmallows in the butter in a bowl, put them in the microwave for a minute, then you stir 30 seconds more, then you're gonna take that out. You're going to fold in that mixture into the Corks popcorn, and they're another family-owned business right here in Statesboro, Georgia. They started doing kettle popcorn at the local farmers market. We added in some Reese's chips, and you just make balls out of those. Our campers, are going to be doing that this fall. We can't wait to do it with them. And speaking of campers, they have decorated all of these gorgeous pumpkins, plastic pumpkins that we just used a Sharpie. So fall is in the air. Get excited, get it done. And remember, no matter what you do, do it in good taste. I hope you'll come back and join me again next week.